Hello, my name is Wendy Bennett. I'm a librarian at the Bayport-Blue Library. That's where we are today on Monday, the 20th of May, 2013. And we're here with Mr. John Bonk and Jean Horton. Welcome.
Hello.
John, what is your full name?
Full name is Walter J. Bonk.
And when and where were you born?
I was born in April 3rd, 1935, in a doctor's office in Patchogue.
And you just gave me an article about an incubator that you started your life in. Can you tell me a little more about that article?
Well, according to the article, because I was too young to know that, I was a twin, my sister and I. And we were premature, I think 2¼ pounds, something like that. And in order to keep us alive, they had to send to the city for an incubator. Unfortunately, my sister was the lesser of the strong, so they had me put in an oven to keep me warm. Mm-hmm. And they got the incubator, and from there on, I gained weight and what have you. And came out all right. Unfortunately, my sister died right after because at that time they didn't have these incubators or anything like that, and I guess she was stillborn. I don't really know because, like the article, well, like I remember the article said that they got the incubator for me. So that's the story for that.
Okay, thank you. And where have you lived?
I have lived in Blue Point, believe it or not, all my life. I started out on, Division Street in Blue Point. We lived with my grandmother for a while. Then my mother and father built a house on Kennedy Avenue in 1942. And then I lived there until 1962 when I got married. And my wife and I, Jeanette, moved to Bell Avenue, which is only, as people in Blue Point would know, a street over. And I've been there for 52 years.
And how about your parents? Did they live in Blue Point?
My parents came from Brooklyn originally, back in, I guess what I would have to say 1931, so on, before I was born. And they had a house down, where the laundry pond is? I don't know what the street is, but they had a house right there on the corner. And then they moved in with my grandmother in around 1940. But all my family, Aunt Francie lived on Atlantic Avenue. In fact, she had apartments on Atlantic Avenue by Prospect Park in Brooklyn. Yeah, and then they all came out. My uncle and aunt lived in the Rockaways. I don't know how they found it. Well, they came out when they had the Blue Point Inn. Yeah, my relatives had the Blue Point Inn, which is now the Capital One Bank. And they came out to help them with the inn because my mother and my aunt, believe it or not, worked there, if you can believe this, tending horses. Because at that time, if you look at the picture, they had a hitching post, and the people would come in and they would have their meals and everything like that. And then, of course, with your research, Gene, they all came out here for the summertime. We had all the hotels, and they used to take the Long Island Railroad when we had a depot over here. And my father worked for the New York Central. He was in charge when they brought in grain on the ships. He had to go ahead and he had an inventory before they shipped it. My grandfather was a conductor on the Long Island Railroad. And of course, I never got there, but anyhow. And then, so that's the family, basically.
Do you have any other memories of the Blue Point Inn?
I really don't. The only bad memory I have, of course, when Mr. Peters took it over in 1953, Gene, something like that. It then a couple of years after that burnt down. And the sad part about it is I never really, the only time I got into that was when he had it. I went there just to look at it. And I don't have any memorabilia or anything of it. That the only memories I have is when my aunt, my aunt used to talk about it, and of course Vera Logan was big on that. She used to tell me a lot of stuff on it because most of this stuff was really coming from my aunt and uncle, you know.
So tell us a little bit about some of your first memories of living in Blue Point.
Well, the biggest thing that I found when I was living on Kennedy Avenue is that, and don't forget, I was only, well, the big memory was the blizzard of 47. That's the big blizzard of 47, right? But the biggest thing is that we used to be friends with everyone on the block. Now, don't forget, you have to take this in context because we were kids, but we knew everyone on the block, okay? And we were never home. We used to go and you'd have breakfast at this house. You'd have lunch. Oh, come over, we'll go here. We'll have supper. We were hardly ever home. You knew everyone. And of course, I was very fortunate because I had my aunt, my uncle, my grandmother, my other aunt, all in one section in Blue Point. We were right on Kennedy Avenue. She had a house on the side of us. My aunt had a house here. We had the house here. So we had our own little circle, you know. And we never locked the houses. We used to go out, you know, nowadays. But, you know, that's the biggest memory. Yeah. And
other than just hanging out with everyone, what other things did you do for fun?
We had our own friends, and like I told you before, we used to. All we did basically is right over here behind the school, grammar school. We used to play softball all the time, and the kids from the city used to come out, and they were from the Bronx. They were from Brooklyn, and they had the houses right by. It used to be Tyner's Beach, Tyner's Beach, and there was bungalows. So they used to rent the bungalows right on the beach for 3 or 4 months, and then a couple of them on I think it's Ocean Avenue on Blue Point had Zitzelbergers were there and the Dugans were there and what have you. They had their own house, but they were summer houses. All right, and that's basically what we did. We started at 8 o'clock in the morning. We used to play ball till 9 o'clock at night. We never went home or anything like that. And then, when I started working, I started working in the A&P, and when I was 16 years old, we used to have the game start at 6 o'clock at that time because a lot of and if you didn't get down there, you didn't play. Then we also played down here in Roe Park, where True Value is. Right across from True Value, there was a field. They built houses there now because it used to be all fields back there. There was no houses on that block, only on Division Street, right, Gene? And then I forget what the other street was, but that was all woods. So Mr. Rowe, John J. Rowe, who had the big house on, right? He said to us, because he owned that whole. John J. Rowe was into real estate, right?
Right.
And insurance.
Real estate and insurance.
Insurance, because Walt Rowe still has the insurance. And he said to us, because we were friends with his, he said to us, if you guys want to play, I'm going to let you play on this lot. And of course, we okayed it with the neighbors, naturally. And we had that until we stopped playing. And that was basically it. And then, of course, we had our, we had our parties, not get-togethers with the kids and all like that. And then we also went ahead and spent a lot of the summers at the beach, which I have a couple of the kids. This is the kids here that I have. I just want to show you where the beach. We used to have the boardwalk used to go out to where the Blue Point dock is now. It used to go down to the end of the dock. The boardwalks used to go out. And we used to have slides. Wooden slides. And, of course, we had the slide where it had the two railings. Like the slide would be going down here, and we had two railings, and the railings would be up here. So we were going to be big shots, and we were going to dive over the two railings. And remember, it was only about, how deep would it be out there, Gene? 6 feet, maybe, something like that? And dive over the two railings.
Did anyone ever get hurt?
Nobody. I just can't believe this. The things that we used to do, nobody got hurt. And we all had such a good time down there because it used to cost us all of 25 cents to get in there. And they had bathhouses. There was bathhouses there. And then we had our little, I'll have to show you the picture, but there was a little, I have a picture up here of the snack bar, but I'll show it to you, just to give you an idea of that.
So I assume you went to the local high school here?
No. What we did is I went to St. Francis de Sales, in Patchogue. It was a Catholic school. My brother and sister also went there, and then when we graduated there, we went to Seton Hall High School, which is now St. Joseph College. Mm-hmm. But when we started, we went down to the school. It was on the end of South Ocean Avenue in Patchogue, and it was made up of cottages. Hmm. There was 3 or 4 cottages made up, and you'd have a freshman and 1 sophomore and junior, all different. It was just regular houses, but that's where we had the classrooms. Then we had an auditorium where we played, where we played basketball and football. Of course, we had a very antiquated clubhouse, if you want, but we played. I didn't play football. I played baseball, but nothing like they have now. And then in 1953, when I graduated, of course, that's when they opened up Seton Hall on Roe Boulevard, and I graduated from there. My brother graduated from there, and so did my sister. You remember that?
Sure.
We did. So we were funny. We had to have a big, a big procession, and go down, open it up, and then of course you had Sister Clotilde down there. I don't know if you remember Sister Clotilde.
I remember the name.
Yeah, she was the principal down there. In fact, I thought they had a statue of her on the property someplace. I haven't been down here since.
Yeah.
We had one class reunion in I don't know what year, 55 or 56. But that's the only one there. In fact, we had our 53, we had our 51, 50 some odd, 52, 53 anniversary.
Yeah.
But that's the high school stuff. And then, like I say, I used to work for Bob Brown in the deli, and then in 1955, I got a job with the bank, Union Savings Bank, which is now defunct, and was there for 43 years.
Was that local? Or?
Yeah, Patchogue, and I ended up being a manager of the bank when we had branches, when we branched out in the 70s, and I was a branch manager over in Lake Grove, Smith Haven Mall. And then we got taken over by Norfolk Bank in, what year was that?
I don't know what year that was.
About 1992, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I worked for them for 5 years and then retired in 1998.
Oh,
so altogether, I put 43 years in with the
banking.
With the banking, yeah.
Now you mentioned your wife. Was she local too?
No, as a matter of fact, I went into the Army. Actually, it was into the National Guard in 1961, and we had to serve 6 years. So we put 6 months in active duty. I came out March 17th of 61. I had friends that I went with, believe it or not, from Patchogue. We had about 9 or 10 guys from Patchogue, which was nice because we went through basic and everything, thank God, because I mean, And I was with a fellow by the name of Otto Brunner. I don't know if you know Otto Brunner. And a couple of other fellows, and then they were talking about, girlfriends and all like that. So they ended up saying, I'll introduce you to a girl, right? 1961, blind date. So sure enough, and she was from Santa Mauritius, because some of the friends that I had were from Santa Mauritius. So, of course, we went and, next, everything else is history. Her father, her maiden name was Strebel, and her father owned the Sunrise Restaurant. Yeah. Remember the Sunrise Restaurant on Montauk Highway in Santa Mauritius? And then we got married November 17th, 1962, and they moved to Blue Point.
Good.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, right here.
Now, what would you say is one of the biggest changes in Blue Point?
Okay, there's a couple of things, okay? Of course, the biggest change that I've seen is the traffic, which everyone is going to agree with that. I can't remember, even Montauk Highway. Remember, we didn't have Sunrise Highway back there. Sunrise Highway didn't get completed until, I think Sunrise Highway only came to...
In the 60s.
In the 60s or so. Like but the biggest thing is the traffic. And, of course, the other thing was the building. They built on... there's no lots. I mean, back in my day, we had vacant lots. Nobody built. We had land, so much land that, it was nice because it was like like farmland. We had some farms. We had a lot of greenhouses, as you know. Klug, Eric Klug had one here, and then we had back at my house. No, in front of my house was Noose, Joe Noose. You remember Joe Noose? That's the biggest thing.
So what is your earliest memory of the library?
The earliest remember, I'll tell you, the earliest remember, in fact, I got pictures here too. Yeah. The library that I remember was a little house. It was like just about when you walk into the front of this library, to the right of it there was books. And I don't think it was much bigger than that front entrance when I walked in. And I remember it seems like really old books. I mean, really old books, it seemed to me, nothing like it is now, but that's the biggest thing that I remember. And, of course, again, with what I call the summer crowd who used to come in here, and, they hang out. Well, I shouldn't use hang out, but, we gathered together and had our, But that's the biggest remember. But the biggest thing I remember is it being just a little house, like.
Was it on this current property or a different location?
It was the Bennett House.
It was that.
The old Bennett House.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's Wendy's last name.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
No relation.
That's my biggest remembrance of the library. Yeah.
Were you involved in any other organizations?
Well,
in the community?
when I was younger, when I was 22, I was working. I started coaching Little League, myself and a fellow by the name of George Elbert, and then of course Jerry Travis. You remember Jerry Travis? Yeah. He was the president of a Little League, Blue Point Little League. It was Blue Point Little League. So Blue Point Little League, and I had I was assistant manager, and I had the Braves, green colored team, the Braves. And we used to play. You know where we played, Gene? We played at Nicholson Field.
Over here.
Nicholson Field. We had Nicholson Field because we had the candy store over here, Nicholson's Candy Store, which is where the deli is. And they built the field down there. We used to have a beautiful field. And at that time, it was behind Reed's Ice Cream, where those big houses are now, right off of Atlantic Avenue. There used to be Reed's Ice Cream, and they made their own ice cream. In fact, we went in there one time. They invited us in, gave us free ice cream and all like that. But they built the field right back of there, and all of the whatever stores we had at the time used to advertise, and we used to have a fence goes around with all the advertisement on the fence. That's how they paid for a lot of the, because I don't think they charged to play ball. I think that it was paid by the advertisement. But it was gorgeous. It was really, really nice. I was so, like anything else, they took it down. But I coached there for 4 or 5 years. I had that team, and then a couple of years after that, I had the Giants. I coached that with Mr. Clough. He was my assistant manager. I mean, actually, he was the coach down here at Bayport-Blue, at the Blue Point School, Blue Point Grammar School, Mr. Clough. And he said, no, he says, you take the team, and I'll be the assistant manager. Because, I mean, he knew more. He was coaching here. He didn't, what did I know, So that's what we did. I coached there, and then I went into what they call Babe Ruth League. We had it, which was kids from 13 to 16. I coached the year with them over in, we used to play in Bayport. It was just a regular field in Bayport, not the way it is now, but where the track is, over there we had a blue ball field there. And then we used to travel. We went to Medford School, we went to Patchogue High School, we played a whole bunch of teams. It was almost like a traveling team. But I was into that. And after that, of course, I started playing ball myself. I played for the slow ball league and played for the fire department. Used to play for in the Brookhaven League, and then we used to play at the Shorefront over in Patchogue. And that was mainly my big thing. Was I played softball there until I was 55.
Wow.
Really?
So you've had a long history of softball.
Well, I started playing them when I was 60 because they had the over 60 leagues. Okay, after that, I started playing in there, and then I got hurt, and I couldn't play anymore after that. I played 10 games, for crying out loud, and I broke my arm. Oh. And that was it. I couldn't play. I went and had it operated on, and the doctor says I was 61 years old, right? I says, when can I go and play ball? Oh, you could play in 6 weeks. after I get the arm fixed, right? Well, needless to say.
Do you have any stories or legends about Blue Point that you've heard?
Legends? No, I can't say any legends. I know from listening to Gene, I know when I was living on Kennedy Avenue, they had, before I was there, but they had the Anchorage Inn, and we used to play. At that time, there was after the inn went down, there was a Ferry's gas station, and he had the Sphinx. You know the Sphinx. The Sphinx was at the corner of Kennedy Avenue and Montauk Highway, and we used to play in the Sphinx.
Yeah.
And you used to have a little doorway in there. We used to go in, my cousins and my sister and all like that. The doorway used to like around, almost like a revolving door. We used to go in there and we used to play in the Sphinx. And then it said, of course, it had that saying and all like that. I forget what it is, but you know what the saying is. And we used to go ahead and the walls. There was walls still there of the restaurant, of the inn, right? And the walls were made out of wine bottles, cased in cement. And like dopes, we used to go in there with we were only kids, with the stones, and what did we know? We broke all of the, and had we known, we could have saved some of those, because those things were relics, antiques, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the only real remembrance that I have. I don't remember any. We had some characters in Blue Point. We had a fellow by the name of I better not mention, but we had a fellow that used to be like a squatter, I guess you'd call him at that time, and he was the, I guess, he wasn't homeless. He built his own house and everything. I don't know, but they used to go ahead and, like a squatter. He used to go ahead and if you stayed on that land and built something, it was only a little, almost like a tent, you could have the property. And he was there for quite a while. But that's the only thing I remember. No ghost that I remember. I know I've heard this all the story, but I haven't heard anything about that. There was no legends about that. We had the old railroad station, which I really miss, because they had the old steam engines, number 39.
Yeah.
Remember number 39? And little did I know, we didn't take pictures of that. That was back in that was back in what, 55?
It was dismantled.
It was dismantled in 55, but in 47, with the blizzard and all, I can remember going up there, and there used to be a potbelly stove in the station. Oh, it was just gorgeous.
Do you remember Mr. Gert Seema?
No.
Pushing the mail cart?
No.
He used to go up and get the mail and then bring it down here to the post office.
No, I don't remember that, but I do remember that they used to have a big pole where you used to hang the mail. You used to hang the mail bag on the pole, and when the train went by, they used to reach out and just take the thing off the pole. And then, of course, you remember in Patchogue, I know you want Blue Point, but in Patchogue, they used to go ahead and have a turntable. And what they did is they went ahead, and when the train went into Patchogue, when you went back to the city, they used to put it on the turntable, turn the engine around, and then back the engine up and pick up the passenger cars and go back to, because they didn't have these two-ended trains the way they have now.
Then they reverse the seats.
And then they reverse the seats, because the seats, because a lot of people didn't want to,
Oh, wow.
In fact, it's funny, we went to upstate last summer. I traveled on one of those old-time trains up to the Adirondacks, same kind of seats.
Straw.
So do you remember when the station closed?
The station closed about 55.
Around early 50s.
Early 50s, yeah.
Then it stood there for a while, then it was dismantled.
And then it was dismantled, but it was just such a beautiful...
Then it was replaced by a metal shed.
By a metal thing, and then eventually ugly. And then eventually that went, and now there's no more stops. There's no stops in Blue Point. No. There's no stops in Bayport. Sable Lake Captain, which thank goodness, and Oakdale's got a nice station.
My father used to come home on the train.
So did mine.
My mother used to park out here by the liquor store. She was afraid to go up that hill.
Yes.
It was dark.
Yes.
It was too dark, she said.
To go.
When the train came over the trestle, then she went up the hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, my father used to walk home from there all the time.
It was dark.
Oh, it was bad. But that's the only, that's the only legends I would say. Right? There's one other thing that I want to let you know about. I don't know, this is with a Gene. We used to have a milk company that it was up here where the barber shop is on Montauk Highway.
Yeah.
And they called it, no, it was Amityville.
Amityville Dairy.
Amityville Dairy. And I remember they had the big bottle.
Yeah.
The big bottle over there that used to light up. And it used to be a big milk bottle.
Mary Monteith said
geez.
that now Blue Point looks like Times Square.
Yes. And we also used to have a syrup company. We used to make syrup for Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola.
Right there.
Right there. Yeah. But that's about it.